You're listening to XVGM Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm Justin.
And I'm Mike.
And this is episode 4, Guilty Gear.
Guilty Gear, also known as Guilty Grizzle amongst our...
Guilty Grizzle.
Guilty Grizzle.
Yes.
We have messed around with that name of this fighting game series. Yes, Guilty Gear is a great fighting game series with some fantastic heavy metal influence music, but there's also some non-heavy metal stuff in there too. There's lots of influences from blues music, jazz a little bit. You know, you're going to be hearing a little bit of a teaser, a taster, if you will, in this episode. There's tons of great music that I'm really, I think we're both really excited to play for you guys.
Definitely. I mean, it does kind of run the gamut. Like you said, heavy rock to... light rock. I think there's even a little bit of classic rock in some of the games.
Yeah, a little bit of bluesy, hard rock style. Yeah.
I think most of the stuff in today's episode is going to be in stark contrast to our previous episode.
Yes.
Where we had a lot of easy listening, kind of soft music. This is going to blow your face off.
Yes, prepare to wake up from your previous slumber of the tracks that we played last episode. Now we're getting in some heavy hitters, some squeedly meedlies.
Lots of squeedly meedlies.
Tons.
So speaking of, that squeedly meedly that we just came in on. If folks were wondering, the name of that song was Feedback, and that's from Guilty Gear X2, which was on the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, in 2002 in Japan, 2003 in North America. And that track, as well as I think every other track in here, was composed by at least a man named Daisuke Ishiwatari.
Yes, he's the creator of Guilty Gear for the most part, and the music as well. He has done work with other people, but for the most part, Daisuke Ishiwatari is the main driver, the main component, and the main composer. Even going so far as to doing vocals for certain characters, like the voiceovers, effects and everything.
This this whole series is kind of his brainchild.
Yeah, kind of his baby. Right.
As well as the what people call the spiritual successor, Blaze Blue. He was also equally involved in that.
Absolutely, yeah. So regarding the track that we came in on, I feel like it's the perfect introduction to the series, because it kind of starts you off with that bluesy guitar and then just kicks you in the face with some hard rockin' tunes. So I love this track. This was the intro track that plays when you first start Guilty Gear X2, where the anime cutscene where all the characters are kind of interacting. Yeah. And so I don't know, personally, I this was my first experience with the series, was Guilty Gear X2. I played it with my roommate Kevin at the time back in college, and we kind of taught each other how to play the game. So
my first experience with Guilty Gear was not X2 itself, but one of the revisions, I guess, of X2. Accent Core, I think, was my first Guilty Gear. That was also on the PlayStation 2.
Yep.
And it was just wildly fun. I mean, the character dynamics, the different characters there, the different styles that they all use, was just really fun. I was never really big into fighting games, with the exception of the Marvel vs. Capcom series.
Sure.
1 and 2 and 3 to a lesser extent were all a lot of fun. I mean, I played them in the arcades, so playing them on the consoles was definitely different for me. I never really had the money to get an arcade stick for a console, so it was it was a weird learning curve going from fighting stick to controller.
I can imagine, yeah.
But Accent Core had, I forget what they changed in it, but I just remember it being the one with was it ABBA? ABA, the giant key.
Yep. Which I believe we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
So we're going to move in from our intro track to go back in time a little bit. What do you got for us for our first track?
So First track is going to be from the first Guilty Gear, which was released in 1998 on the PlayStation 1. And the track is called Pride and Glory, composed by Takahiro Uematsu, Takuya Morito, and Hatsuaki Takami, as well as Daisuke Ishiwatari.
Yes, let's hit it.
Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was Pride and Glory off of 1998's Guilty Gear on the PlayStation 1, and that was composed by the ever-famous Daisuke Ishiwatari and Takahiro Uematsu, as well as Hatsuaki Takami. I mentioned earlier Takuya Morito. I believe he actually only composed Chip's theme off of this game, right?
Yeah, I think so.
He's listed as a composer for this game, so we want to give him his credit where credit's due.
Right.
But I don't believe that he was composer for this particular track.
It's a little confusing when you look online for the composer history for these games.
Yes.
Even though Daisuke Ishiwatari is kind of like the unofficial, like, he's the creator of pretty much everything, and he's been with the series ever since. There's other composers listed on these as well, but for whatever reason they list Takuya Morito as Chip's theme, or just Chip. So I don't know if that's like his voiceover or his...
yeah.
I don't know, but it's listed as a composer or music, so yeah. I'm assuming that that's what he did. And then Hatsuaki Takami only did this game.
Right.
And Takahiro Uematsu did only this game as well as far as composition goes. So really, I think they just helped out with composition, but for the most part, this is Daisuke.
Right.
All the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the first one, numero uno.
Yes, on the PS1. So I haven't personally played this version of the game, but I've heard it's very unbalanced. From what I've heard, yeah, it's kind of like the first trial run, I guess you could say, with the game.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, for the first one to have come out, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's completely likely that, you know, especially if the guy making the games has a penchant for certain characters. I mean, he voices Soul Bad Guy.
Yep.
I would put my money on Soul being like the most powerful or one of the most overpowered characters in the game. Him
Absolutely.
And Kaiki Scare, like the most popular.
Right. So. That's true. I mean, most of the influences for the game came from like Street Fighter.
Oh yeah.
So Daisuke Ishiwatari was a pretty big Street Fighter fan. Took a lot of inspiration from manga as well. So that is kind of how this series got started. He was working for Arc System Works, and their production team, from what I understand, was called Team Neo Blood. And so the game was published by Arc System Works as well, for everywhere outside of North America and Europe, so pretty much only Japan. North America, it was published by Atlus. So Atlus has always been one of those kinds of publishers that will take a chance on almost anything.
Yes.
So it makes sense that this game was published under them, just because I feel like they gave it a shot and it sold really well, so that's why they started making, or at least it sold very well with a small, they probably didn't make a ton of copies of this game, so I would imagine it was a pretty small cult, you know, status, and it just kind of grew from there. But
yeah, I mean, I think it kind of blew up around X2 anyway, because that's where they started having all those other revisions. Because I mean, you have X2, X2 Accent Core, X2 Accent Core Plus, and they just kind of kept revising the game to try to, I'm guessing, balance it out better and make it more enjoyable.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So what track?
Yeah, how about we talk about the track?
The track is a lot of fun. I like the piano bit that comes in right after the face melting guitar in the beginning. But the piano piece is just, it's very fun, very flighty, and it really adds an extra amount of like, or an extra level of playfulness to the entire track.
Playfulness is definitely the right word for it. I would say it's very like floaty, very happy sounding. It's very, it makes you want to get up and dance.
Yes.
You know, and for a rock track, that's very difficult to do. So when you kind of throw in that bluesy vibe that this track kind of emphasizes, it's hard to resist the catchiness of this track. So
definitely.
Yeah, and I love the synths too in the background that kind of like dun dun dun, like those keyboards. It's a fun, great track to listen to while you're, you know, beating the snot out of each other. So.
Or even just in the car.
Yeah, beating the snot out of each other. trying to figure out which tracks you want to listen to.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as Guilty Gear goes for the first game. So, and then they came out with Guilty Gear X on the it came out in arcade, so they actually did get it out in the arcade. Sega Dreamcast also got a port of it from the arcade, and then it later saw port to PlayStation 2, Windows, and even the Game Boy Advance. But we're not going to be talking about that one because we're going to jump right up to the main, I guess, the main course, if you will. So I've picked a track from Guilty Gear X2 on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Came out in 2002 in Japan and 2003 in North America. And the track that we're going to be listening to is Awe of She. And this is also known as Dizzy's theme, and it was composed by Koichi Seiyama and Daisuke Ishiwatari.
Let's do it.
right, welcome back. That was Awe of She, the Guilty Gear X2 track that came out in 2002 in Japan and 2003 in North America on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox consoles. I loved that track.
Yeah, it was quite good. I was somewhat surprised about the lead guitar not being so overdriven.
Okay.
It was actually kind of refreshing not having, like, I like the overdriven guitars, especially in the rhythm in the background, but the lead guitar being not overdriven to that same extent was, it kind of brought some, I don't know if gentleness is the right word, but it brought something else to the track that kind of brought it together and made it, like, everything played off of each other really well, especially like the I think those are synths in the background.
Yeah,
they almost sound like bells at first, but it's
very twinkly.
Yes,
and almost Christmassy.
Yes,
in a way.
That's why I thought they were bells, and then I was like, yeah, no, it's not quite a bell.
Yeah, that really stood out to me this time when I listened to this track. Not that I hadn't heard it before, but for whatever reason, this time around listening to it, those really stood out to me. And maybe it's just because this is a really clean version of the song, and most of the other versions I've heard are kind of a little bit more like, I've had the soundtrack for this for a while, and I actually re-downloaded the soundtrack to make sure that I had the best possible version of it. And this version's really clean, really clear, and I was able to hear those synths or chimes, bells, whatever they are. Yeah, definitely I get a real Christmas vibe from them, just because they kind of stay in the background a little bit, but they're very pronounced here for the most part. Like, when you really kind of pay attention to them, they kind of stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I dig the harmonized melodies, and the fact that they kind of bounce back and forth between one guitar kind of jumping up front, kind of like da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, and the other one's kind of like kind of playing off of that in the background, almost like not quite like a dual harmony or anything like that. It's very strange how they wrote this one, how they composed and played this one, because it's definitely different than anything else on the soundtrack. And honestly, most of the music that is on the soundtrack all sounds really unique for the most part.
Oh yeah. I mean, every character basically has their own sort of theme, and each theme, well, many of them are like hard rock and metal. They all are very distinct. Like you wouldn't confuse Kai Kisuke's theme for like Baiken's theme or anything like that.
Yeah, and part of that is, I think, part of the influence from the characters themselves. They did a really good job writing music for characters. So, like, for example, some of the tracks that we're going to be listening to later on are a little bit more, I guess you could say, like, Japanese flavored. They have some like Japanese style instrumentation from like some more like classic Japanese sounding music, more like classical Japanese music. Whereas with a track like this, it's a little bit more fantasy based, because Dizzy herself is kind of like a sci-fi fantasy character in a way.
Yeah, she's is she the half angel? Am I thinking of?
I think she's like half angel, half devil. Because,
yes, that's the one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and she was, I believe, brand new to this game.
Introduced in X2.
X2, right. And so the plot for these games is really convoluted. I never understood the plot. From what I understand, there's like, there's bad guys, there's good guys. There's actually a very like religious aspect to it, especially with like Kai Kisuke, because he's like priest. He's a priest or something like that.
You got Testament.
Yeah, Testament's more like I love Testament. He's a great character. He's kind of like a goth. Kind of looks like something out of like a goth music video or something like that for like a goth band. Wears all black and everything, long black hair. But for whatever reason, I kind of associated my favorite characters with my favorite tracks. Yeah. So when I played this game, some of my favorite characters came out of this game. Dizzy, Baiken, Milia Rage.
Oh, yes.
And so those are some of my favorite characters to play as, along with one other that we'll talk about a little later. But I don't know, I just really dig this game, and I really dig this soundtrack, and I think that they did a phenomenal job with it. So, but yeah, this was my first experience with the franchise as far as playing the game goes, and I kind of just jumped around picking different characters, and when you would go to the level, Dizzy's level specifically, it's like woodland creatures like everywhere, and it's just gorgeous. All the graphics in these games is like hand animated.
I mean, even in one of the more recent games,
Rev 2.
I think Rev 2, the portraits are painted by Ishiwatara.
Oh, really? Okay. That's pretty cool. I mean, just everything about these games is graphically, very visually breathtaking, and even in like the newer games as well, where they kind of like more went in a cell shading kind of vibe, it still really stands out. Like it's still very impressive.
Definitely. One of the things that I really like about the series is, I mean, I like I said, I don't have a huge range of fighting games that I like to play, but a lot of the fighting games I find like the color palettes are very like sort of standardized. I wouldn't call them like dark or muted, but like, you can usually tell a fighting game from a mile away. And one of the things that drew me to the Guilty Gear games is they use a lot of bright poppy colors.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just like every character is not only well animated, but like the colors are there, and even the alternate colors are mostly just stupid and silly, but like it still fits in the theme of the game.
Right.
Like one of Slayer's outfits is like a bright orange tuxedo. If you change the color on it, and it looks absolutely silly, but it doesn't look out of place.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for the game that you're playing. It's a very outlandish, wacky, ridiculous game, and very obviously heavily influenced from manga and, as we said earlier, Street Fighter. So it's kind of like Street Fighter on crack.
Yeah, or I would say like Street Fighter on metal.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of, you can see he wrote a lot of this music for what he liked, but you can sort of see a lot of the metal influence in some of these characters, particularly like Soul Bad Guy. I mean, his
Soul Bad Guy.
He is definitely. I mean, if you want to get really punny, Robo Guy.
Yeah,
he's made of metal.
Yeah. Hey.
But
yeah, with Soul Bad Guy, he has a sword that is part. What is it, like part chainsaw, part? It's like gasoline powered. And that's why all of his attacks are like flame based, because he slams his sword into the ground and like shoots like fire at you. So,
or he hits you with it and then activates it and you explode. Yeah.
So a lot of really cool creativity. Let's keep it going with our next track. What do you got for us?
So we're gonna skip way ahead to Guilty Gear XRD Revelator, which came out in 2016 on the PC, PS4, and PS3. The track is called Safe Intoxication, and it was composed by Norichika Sato and Daisuke Ishiwatari.
Got to reach out and grab the shitty ticket. Don't miss the bus, it's the last ride out of town. Not the bad deal for my desperate concern. That's for certain, ever nothing else. On the Google, tension so high. Ask for more questions, say, I wanna breathe. Whoa, we are pain fighters. Epic guy, yeah, want some self-intoxication. Whoa, we are pain fighters. Epic guy, yeah, that's a self-intoxication. Step up to the Disney platform. Don't miss a show, it's the best you ever have. Nothing can go wrong, all should be under control. That's my concert, just call me a coward. Here's the music, takes us so high. Time for no questions, yeah. I wanna breathe. Yes, you can call me whatever. That's what I am. I'm nothing else. Drink some good booze. It's some time to cry. I got more ambitions, yeah. Whoa, we are pain fighters. Yeah, because you want some self-intoxication. Whoa, we are pain fighters. Yeah, because there's a self-intoxication. Whoa, we are pain fighters. Whoa, we are pain fighters. Whoa, we are pain fighters. Yeah, because there's a self-intoxication.
Welcome back to Guilty Gear Radio, all Guilty Gear all the time. Now, welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was Safe Intoxication off of Guilty Gear Xrd. I believe I said XRD earlier, and I was corrected. Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator. That was released in 2016 on the PC, PS4, and PS3, and the track was composed by Norichika Sato and Daisuke Ishiwatari, and what a track.
That was great.
I think this is the first time we've had a track with lyrics on
the show.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, it's the first time I think we've had vocals. I'm okay with that. I like vocals in video game music, so, but what I like about it having vocals in video game music is I like the music and the vocals to be original. I'm not as big of a fan of like licensed tracks in video game music. Maybe in DDR a little bit, but
yeah, I mean you're gonna end up that way in that type of a game,
right?
I'm sort of indifferent to licensed music. It depends on what they're and what was licensed and what they're playing. Like if it's music I enjoy, then yeah, it's great, and it just kind of ends up being background music anyway.
Yeah, true.
But the original music, especially when you get original music with vocals, is a lot of fun. And this one, I mean, wow. I mean, it comes off so strong with just that crazy guitar. So the song Safe Intoxication is listed as featuring Naoki Hashimoto. Unsure if that's for the song or for the album, but either way, if it's Daisuke or Naoki singing, well done. I enjoy the musicality of the vocals themselves. It's always good when the vocals sort of have their it always has its own melody, but it's nice when the melody sort of kind of stands on its own. I mean, you also can have songs where the vocals aren't really melodic at all. It's just sort of almost like rapping or talking over the music. Not that I don't enjoy that as well, but especially when it comes to video games, I can find that kind of music a little bit more distracting.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm okay with the way that this one came out because normally with vocals, especially with games from Japanese composers, you tend to get vocals that are very they try to sing English, and it usually, because of the dialect and because of the sound, you end up hearing a lot of words kind of, and this is very famous for happening in anime intros. When you listen to English lyrics in anime intros, they're very they try, but sometimes they don't get it, or the pronunciations comes off as incorrect. But here it was actually pretty strong, and the tone and sound that kind of came across the entire track was really top notch. I thought it was really very well done, and it matched the mood of the guitars as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you look up the lyrics of the song, it's not as you were saying, a lot of Japanese singers that sing in English don't always kind of get it right. You generally, especially in games like this, you either get music with vocals that are in Japanese, in which case you don't know what they're saying, and you sort of take it as more of a melody as words,
right?
Or you get English that just doesn't kind of come out right, or either the words aren't used properly, or the sentences don't make as much sense. You can put together what they're saying, but it's just when you hear it's almost sort of like English.
Right, yeah. But I love how this one comes rocking right out the gate, though. I thought it was awesome. Just really good stuff. And then as far as the game itself goes, this was the first version of the, I guess you could say technically the third or fourth Guilty Gear game, since Guilty Gear 1 and then Guilty Gear X was the second one, and then Guilty Gear X2 was the third, minus all the like iterations of Guilty Gear X2.
Yeah.
Right, and then maybe Izuka, but Izuka's kind of more of a side thing.
Izuka and Dust Strikers and Judgment, those are all sort of, I think they're considered spin-offs.
Right, and Overture and all that. Yeah, those are...
Overture is part of the main story.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Exard comes right off of the story of Overture.
Okay.
That involves, I only played a little bit of it, but it involves something about Kai Kisuke and Dizzy getting together, because that's where
because they
Sin
end up
Kisuke comes from.
Right. Yeah, they get together, they hook up or whatever. Yeah. Cool.
Looks like our producer Janine is telling us we have a call.
Oh yeah.
Let's hit that.
Hi, it's May.
Hi there. What track can we play you?
Well, me and the rest of the Jellyfish Pirate Girls want to hear our favorite track in the whole wide world. Can you play Blue Water, Blue Sky from Guilty Gear X2?
You got it. Hey, what's your favorite video game music podcast radio station?
XVGM Radio.
Welcome back. That was May's theme from Guilty Gear X2, also known as Blue Water, Blue Sky, and that was a awesome track for all my pop punk fans out there. That is a great song. It's really energetic, really high energy, happy, bouncy. Blue Water, Blue Sky. That's the best way for them to put it, and that is why they named it that track, because it's so happy sounding.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. It's kind of a nice contrast. It's more melodic. I noticed the drums more in this one than I did in any of the other ones. Like I realized that the other songs had drums.
Yeah, sure.
But this one, I mean, I definitely heard towards the end like a double bass pedal. There was that nice little drum fill and the bass fill. That happened sort of towards the middle of the song, which was just really, really nice overall.
Yeah, no, definitely. The keyboards really stood out to me on this one and the intro. Just they kick off the track and they kind of set the precedence and the tone for what the rest of the song is going to sound like. So even though you've got those like kind of squealing guitars like throughout it, or I would say it's more wailing than squealing in this particular track, but even though you've got those guitars kind of settled throughout the entire track, the tone never shifts or changes away from that more like synthy but like totally punk pop kind of pop punk vibe that it's got going on. So this track really reminded me of Sunshine Coastline on the Ys 8 soundtrack, which came out last year. So listening to this song again after recently playing Ys 8, it kind of brought me back to that vibe that you don't really get a lot from for original songs on a video game. You don't get a lot of like pop punk kind of vibes from a lot of video game music nowadays. So it's kind of a nice look back on a time when that music was really prominent and around. Vibe of this song fits the mood of the level that you're on when you're playing as May. May's basically this little girl who you just heard from, and she is part of a group called the Jellyfish Air Pirates, and the leader of that is another character that you could play as named Johnny. Right. So he kind of takes in these orphan kids, and they all become part of this group, the Jellyfish Pirates. So
kind of like an Oliver Twist thing.
Yeah, a little bit, or like a Peter Pan thing, a little bit, kind of.
Oh yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah. So, but really like playful, happy characters. They're younger on the younger side, but they like to be happy and fun. And I think her character really reflects that because she fights with like beach balls and like
the dolphin.
Yeah, the dolphin, right? And she uses a whale as her super move, which I thought was awesome. So yeah, she's just a really fun, playful character. So it's nice to see that in a game that is. I wouldn't say like I guess you could say of adult nature at times. There's definitely a lot more like more risque female characters out there, so it's nice for them to kind of even that out a little bit with a character like May and give it a little bit more of a fun vibe.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I never really played as May that much. I just loved playing in her stage. But whenever I did play as her, I always loved to do like her supers and stuff like that, but because she's a fun character to play as.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing her stage, if I remember correctly, they're sitting on the ship are the other jellyfish girls.
Yeah. Or they come out, like, if you win as May, they'll come out and then they'll be like spinning, like, laughing and spinning each other around in their arms. It's really funny, so.
It's really cute. Yeah,
no, definitely. So, yeah, Guilty Gear X2, again, fantastic game, and we're moving into another track, again by Daisuke Ishiwatari, and this one is on Guilty Gear XX or X2 Accident Core Plus, right?
Yeah, it's one of the revisions that they did. So there was Guilty Gear X2, and I think I mentioned before there's Guilty Gear X2 Accent Core Plus, Accent Core Plus R. They just sort of kept trying to refine the game, and I mean they would add different mechanics, different characters. They change it up to
different letters, different numbers, different pound signs, hashtags, right,
different symbols, just, until it becomes alphabet soup.
Yeah,
Guilty Gear Alphabet Soup.
There we go. So what's this next track that we're going to be listening to?
We're going to hear Keep In Gates, which, as you said, was off of Guilty Gear X2 Accent Core Plus, which came out on the PS2 in 2008. The PS3 was re-released in 2012, as well as on the Xbox 360, on the Wii in 2009, and on the PSP as part of Judgment in 2008.
Cool. Let's listen.
Jam here. You may know me from my famous restaurant, or you may not. See, it just keeps getting blown up during various skirmishes that I may or may not be involved in. So I've decided to close up shop permanently and stick to my namesake, namely Jam. Jam's Jamboree is a brand new shop I've opened up where you can get tons of tasty jams and jellies, all for a fair price. All of our jams and jellies are filled with natural ingredients, and the best part is they're all named after people I know. Between Robokai's Blue Raspberry Rhubarb, Testament's Tasty Tangerine, and I know you like strawberries, your taste buds won't be able to catch up with the deliciousness. Want more? How about Jacko's Seasonal Pumpkin Spice Ball and Chain, Bridget's Banana and Coconut Combo, or maybe just stick with the classic flavor of my Jam's Jam? Okay, they can't all be gems. Head on down for the grand opening this Sunday, located at 29 Jamboree Lane in the Colony.
All the hits.
Please select your character.
All the bits.
Are you ready? It's cool.
XVGM Radio.
Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was
something.
Yeah, it definitely was something. The name of the song was Keepin' Gates. It's also known as ABA's theme, and that was from Guilty Gear X2 Accent Core Plus on a number of consoles over a number of years. So the song, as you said, Mike, it's something. I'm particularly fond of the solos in the song. It starts out kind of rockish, hard rocky. And then
with that organ initially, at least,
and at the end too, and ending on the organ, I thought was a nice touch. But the parts that particularly pulled me in were when sort of the rest of the instruments sort of fade away into the background, and you get these nice little like guitar solos and whatnot. It's not as hard hitting as some of the earlier tracks and some of the other tracks off of this game,
right?
But it's definitely interesting in how it does its music. It's not just like one big loud song punching you in the face. It sort of breaks itself up.
It's unique enough to be different than the rest of the soundtrack, and I think part of that is because this is ABA's character, right?
Right.
And she's a weird character, if I recall correctly.
Yes. She was actually introduced in one of the spin-offs. She was first in Guilty Gear Isuka.
Right.
And then they brought her in for X2 Slash or Accent Core, whichever one came first, because there's so many of these revisions.
She's like an artificial life form or something like that was made by like a scientist.
Yeah, she's a homunculus.
Right. So, but she has this giant key that she fights with.
You could almost call it a Keyblade.
Oh, boo.
I'll leave.
Get out. I don't know about this one.
No?
I like that it kept me guessing. But I grew very frustrated by it at points while listening to it because it made me feel like it couldn't stick to one kind of feeling.
That's fair. It was a little frantic.
It was a little bit too frantic, and I feel like it kind of it held my interest only because I wanted to see where the track was going to go next. But the places that it took me, I wasn't really happy with.
Right.
So overall, probably my least favorite track of the episode, but I still give it credit for being different enough and being still reflectant of the character itself. Yeah. So,
I mean, if nothing else, ABA is a very strange character.
Yes, yeah, it's a woman, right? It's a girl, and she's like got her like her mouth sewed shut or something like that.
That's the key.
Oh, that is the key.
The key has a big face on it.
That's
and
right.
It's got stitches over the mouth.
Yep.
She does have really sunken eyes.
She
looks kind of dead because she's a homunculus.
She's like wrapped in bandages. Yep. Yeah, like a mummy almost. Yeah. Yep. Pretty wacky stuff.
She's crazy.
She's
not as crazy as Faust, but
yes, Faust is something. He is a special guy.
So what are we going to hear next?
Well, what we're going to move into is Guilty Gear Xrd Sign, and this was the 2014 release on consoles, PS4 and PS3, and the 2015 PC release. This track is a blazing mush of just awesomeness. Great heavy metal track called The Lily of Steel. This is Milia's theme, and it's by Norichika Sato and, of course, Daisuke Ishiwatari. my goodness. That track.
Ermagerd.
Ermagerd, Gertie Girl. Gertie Girl. Gertie Grizzle. That was Guilty Gear Xrd Sign. 2014 console release, 2015 PC release. Oh man, that was the Lily of Steel. That's Milia Rage's theme by Norichika Sato and Daisuke Ishiwatari. Hats off to you, gentlemen.
Yes.
Oh my.
Wow. Very much so.
This is Mike the track.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I am a sucker for not only high energy tracks, but like, I love uplifting harmonies and melodies, and when you throw in dual harmonies, like what they did with the guitars there, just phenomenal. I mean, the track starts off and it's like really guitar driven to begin with, but it's got that kind of chugginess to it, the and then it kicks off to something that sounds very familiar to Milia Rage fans, which is that organ, that Castlevania organ solo.
I was just going to point that out. The organ was very well done in that track.
Yeah, and it's definitely a throwback to her original track, Writhe in Pain, which was on Guilty Gear X2. I almost picked that track, but when I had heard this when I was playing like Rev 2, because this is also in Revelator and Revelator 2, because those are revisions of Xrd.
Right.
So when I heard this track, man, oh my goodness, I just fell in love with it. I cannot tell you enough how much I love this track. Just those dual layered melodies and harmonies with the guitar, those really like uplifting melodies just melt me. I just love this track so much.
Yeah, no, I was talking in the last track about the solos and the way that the other instruments kind of fall back and give you solos on the other instruments. I feel like this track did that way better.
Yeah, I think this track really tried to focus on just driving melody over everything, and you get very little bass out of this, and I will say that's my only real complaint, is that the bass kind of takes a back seat in this one, like the bass guitar, but the drums really just sound out.
Yeah.
They are phenomenal. You've got double bass going pretty much throughout most of the track. You know, that's just the way that a solid power metal style track like this should go. So
very solid.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. As you couldn't tell.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
I really like playing as Milia though.
She's a lot of fun. She's the hair character.
Yeah, she fights with her hair, which is really cool. And in this game, her hair's short. Like in the other game, it's longer, and she has like a white jumpsuit kind of thing with a bandana on her head.
Yeah, her hair goes down to like elbow down to her feet in the older games.
Right, and in this newer game, it's initially like shorter. She could still fight with her hair, but like it starts off a little bit like almost like half its size, if not more. But she's I don't know. I don't really understand her character and how it fit. Like I said, I've never really understood the story, but I know that she has like some sort of relationship with another character named Zato.
Zato or Zato 1.
Yep. Yeah, and she's also kind of paired with Slayer as well, which I know Slayer is one of your favorites, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So apparently her name is, she's named after a band called Milia Rage, which is an American power metal band that was formed in 1987. So I did not know that until today, and I'm definitely going to have to go check them out.
I'm fairly certain, it may not be the case for every character, but most of the characters in these games, I think, are actually named either based on other, based on rock bands, or references to rock bands. Because you've got
Axl Lowe,
which is Axl Rose, Slayer, which is Slayer.
Yeah.
No, there's no. I mean, I think ABA it may actually even be a reference to ABBA. ABBA.
Oh, yep. Yeah. Or even in like AC/DC or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah. So it's clear that Daisuke Ishiwatari is a huge music fan.
Oh yeah.
Because obviously he, named characters after heavy metal bands. You can't beat that. So fantastic.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, looks like Janine is signaling to us. We got another call. Let's take a caller. Caller, you are on the air with XVGM Radio. Who is this?
Good evening, gentlemen. could I bother you to play a classical musical number that I'm quite fond of?
Sure thing. What'll it be?
Well, I'd love to hear my theme, Jack-A-Dandy, from Guilty Gear Xrd.
All right, well, heaven or hell.
Let's rock!
Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That track was Jack-A-Dandy, also known as Slayer's theme from Guilty Gear Xrd Sign. That was released on consoles in 2014 and on the PC in 2015. Composed by Norichika Sato and, of course, Daisuke Ishiwatari.
Yes.
And I have to say, Slayer, one of my favorite characters. This song, definitely coming out one of the top songs in this on this podcast for the evening. It starts off so silly and almost whimsical, and then just dives right into this crazy rock music.
Yeah, no, I really like this track, and I do love that saxophone, and I'm pretty sure that Slayer has had saxophones in other versions of his theme song, right?
He's I think one of the more jazzy theme. He has one of the more jazzy themes in a lot of the other games.
And Slayer is a vampire
Yes, he is.
Right, who is part of like an assassin's guild.
He is the first assassin.
Right.
In the world of Guilty Gear, there is the Assassin's Guild, and then Slayer is not the head of it. I think that's actually Venom. If I remember correctly, he's the guy that plays with like pool balls.
He has a pool stick, like a pool cue, and then he has balls, and he can put the pool balls like all over the place.
Like traps.
Like traps. Kind of like Testament. Who, man, I really wish they'd bring Testament back, but they kind of replaced Testament with
Jacko.
Yeah. Testament was more of a trap character as well, where he would like plant all these like little trees that would pop up and injure you, and like these like weird spidery red things. And they instead, now you have Jacko, she's similar in the sense that she's kind of like Halloween themed ish. But she attacks with pumpkins, like these pumpkin bombs or whatever. But Slayer is kind of known as this like slick, smooth kind of guy who's kind of masculine. He smokes a pipe.
He's got a monocle.
Got a monocle. He's like
Very
the James.
British.
He's like the vampire James Bond of Guilty Gear.
Yep, that's fair. He also has I can't remember her name. But in the game, he has a wife, and it's funny because in certain opening scenes, like depending on who you pit off against each other, sometimes they'll say things to each other, or sometimes they'll just have like an opening animation. And in some of his opening animations, he has his wife, he embraces her, and then he drains all of her blood, and she floats away because she has no weight.
So the issue I have with that is every time. So like, does she like reincarnate herself like each match in order to do that? Like that's silly.
I mean, he loves his wife. I'm sure he doesn't kill her. I don't know if she's a vampire as well or what her deal is, but
I feel like there should be a slide whistle every time she floats away. Like, woo!
Just add to the ridiculousness.
Of course. Why not?
I mean, she just floats away like a piece of paper. Funny. Nobody can see that I'm doing this with my hand. I'm waving my hand as if it were paper floating in the wind.
Justin is frantically paper floating with his fingers.
But yeah, no, definitely also one of my favorite characters, as I mentioned, to the point that at some anime conventions I've cosplayed as him.
Nice.
I don't often sport a beard, as you'll see in any of the pictures of me on the website. But if I'm cosplaying, I will grow it out for the cosplay.
Yes, he goes to great lengths. You were in my video that I did for Dude You Haven't Played This Game, my review show, where you and your wife played Barry Burton and Rebecca Chambers in Resident Evil, in the Resident Evil remake video. So that was a lot of fun. You were like, "No, I'm gonna grow my beard out." And I'm like, "All right, let's do this."
Yeah, try to do it right.
Yes, kind of the same way when I dress up for Halloween. Like I remember when I met my wife, I met her at a Halloween party, and I was dressed as Jack Bauer from 24.
That's right.
And I had cut my hair really short and shaved my face because I normally have like a chin strap beard, and so. Instead, my hair was super short. I had no facial hair whatsoever, and so I looked nothing like myself. And she was like, "Oh, this guy's attractive."
I was gonna say, what a switcheroo!
Yeah, and then now she's like, "Ugh. Can't believe I whipped this guy." No, I don't know.
Having a baby.
Yeah. I just need to bite her, and then she could float away like. Wee. But anyways, great track. I wanted to just mention that. There's really not a lot of information about these composers, by the way. Norichika Sato, again, I'm pretty sure only worked on Rev 2 and Exurd Sign. So
the 3 Exurd games.
Pretty much, yeah. But we're actually going to move into a different game, and this is a little bit of a switch up for this series. This is Guilty Gear Judgment. This is a PSP exclusive release. This came out in 2006. And this is Stage 1-4 and 2-4, and I'll explain why that name is what it is in just a minute. And the composers were Osamu Aoki, Nao Ogawa, who did guitars on this, and also Dust Strikers for Guilty Gear, which we'll talk about a little bit, and Kenosuke Suimura. you're back. That was Guilty Gear Judgment on the PSP. That was the 2006 release. Stage 1-4 and 2-4 was the name of that track, and that was by Osamu Aoki, Neo Ogawa, who did guitars on this and Dust Strikers, as well as Kenosuke Suimura. Now, Guilty Gear Judgment is a bit of a departure and more in line with one of the other side story games, which is Dust Strikers on the DS.
Yep.
And Dust Strikers was kind of like a Smash Bros. Melee light platform kind of game. Wasn't that great. Most of the music was from the second game, Guilty Gear X2. But Judgment actually is a combination of two different games. Initially, it's a beat 'em up, actually. So if you've ever been playing Guilty Gear and thought, man, I wish they made a Guilty Gear beat 'em up game, they did. And it's Judgment, and it's pretty fun. The only complaint that I have with it is the enemies are fairly copy-paste. Like, every single level has mostly the same enemies.
Like most beat 'em ups.
Yeah, kind of. This one's a little more generic, though, I would say. I do like the fact that they kind of throw in a lot of plot into this one, which is really cool. Again, Guilty Gear plots, kind of nonsense, but still.
Yeah, you get more plot from the Guilty Gear series if you read the manga, or I guess there was like an audio CD.
Ooh. Probably Japan only, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, it's fine because I usually only play these games with the Japanese vocals anyways. Actually, I don't even think there are any English voices in any of the games. Maybe
I do the same thing you do. So
you do?
I don't actually know.
Yeah, I think if almost always when there's an English or Japanese option, I'll almost always listen to the English for like a split second, and if I don't like it, I'll just switch it to Japanese.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there are English voices in a lot of the
maybe the newer
games,
ones,
but I really couldn't tell you.
I don't know. Well, there's no voices in this one, just because you know it's all text based or whatever for the story. But each character that you unlock has their own story, which is pretty cool. So you know, it's pretty much the roster of Guilty Gear X2 in this beat 'em up, but you got to unlock the characters as you go along. So you'll encounter characters. I think you start off as either Soul Bad Guy or Kai Kisk. I'm not sure which one.
What a surprise!
Yeah, I know. Well, they are pretty much the Ryu and Ken of the series. Yeah. But, yeah, the game is pretty fun. I would recommend picking it up. What's nice about it is it comes bundled with, automatically, Guilty Gear X2. So it's like really a specific version, like Guilty Gear X2 Reload or whatever.
Right.
But I'm perfectly okay with that. I bought it for a beat 'em up, but I get a free fighter in it, too, that's portable, which is pretty cool. So, good stuff. Osamu Aoka and Neo Ogawa pretty much only worked on this game, except for Neo Ogawa worked on Dust Strikers as well, did guitar work. Then there's Kenosuke Suimura, who worked on actually quite a bit. This is one of the composers that actually has the most out of any other person aside from Daisuke Ishimura, who has mostly just Guilty Gear and BlazBlue. But this gentleman has some Super Nintendo stuff going all the way back to the Super Nintendo days. Did ports of Space Invaders, Super Bonk, did Great Battle 5, which is the sound designer on that, which that's a phenomenal game, kind of like Wild Guns mixed with like Super Robot Battle game.
Super Robot Tyson?
Yeah, Super Robot Tyson. Well, actually did work on Super Robot Tyson K for the DS. And just kind of jumped around. Did some work on the Neo Geo CD with Kabuki Clash, J-League, Super Soccer 95 for Super NES. Most of his credits are for Super NES games, and he's just kind of all over the place. But yeah, so I was pretty shocked going through this and being like, oh yeah, I've played some of these games, so pretty cool. But yeah, it seems that he's mostly working now with, you know, Arc System Works with Guilty Gear and whatnot. So really hasn't done much since the PlayStation 3 days, where he worked on Battle Fantasia, so did the music on that. But yeah, anyways, this track, what do you think of it?
Definitely different than the other stuff that we've listened to. I could almost hear the level music as opposed to like the theme music in it.
A little speedier.
Yeah.
A little bit more in that Slayer vibe, actually. Like, speedy, like speed metal almost.
Yeah, but hearing the song, I'd actually kind of like to play the game. I completely missed this one when it came out. Like I wouldn't say like that I'm the biggest fan of Guilty Gear. Like, I do really love the game.
Sure.
But I have not played every single revision.
Same here.
I completely missed Judgment. And it sounds, both from what you've described and from that music, it sounds like a pretty fun game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you pick it up, let me know, because we could do like multiplayer Guilty Gear just sitting around the house.
I had to refresh my PSP.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do you got for us next?
So, coming up, this is also from a spin-off. This is from Guilty Gear Isuka on the PS2 and Xbox back in 2004. Came out in the arcade in 2003 and on the PC in 2005. The song is called Push a Bush. And, of course, this is by Daisuke Ishiwatari.
All right, let's hit it.
You're listening to XVGM Radio. That was Push a Bush off of Guilty Gear Isuka. That came out in 2004 on the PS2 and Xbox, the arcade in 2003, and on the PC in 2005. And of course, it was composed by Daisuke Ishiwatari.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, crazy.
I love the name of this, Push a Bush. Whose track is this? I don't even know.
I don't think it's any specific person's track. Okay. I believe it's a stage track.
Mm-hmm. This is heavy.
Yeah.
It's a monster of a track. Really good stuff.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
I mean, the game itself, Isuka, is a little bit different from the other games.
Yeah.
So the music, I think the music was put together differently too.
Mm-hmm.
Isuka was the first and I think last Guilty Gear game that you could have 4 people going at the same time.
Yes.
It was an interesting idea and decently done. The only real complaint I have with the game is that you have to turn around. You have to press a button to change the direction that you're facing.
I remember this one, and I remember playing it, and that crippled the game.
Yes, it did.
That ruined it.
Especially if like, coming off of any of the other Guilty Gear games, like, you push direction and you face that direction. With this one, if you push in the direction that you're not facing, you just walk backwards, and you have to know to push the button to turn around.
Right.
Other than that, though, like, if you're playing against someone that also is in the same position as you, it wasn't that bad. But if you're playing against someone that, like, that was their first game, they know, like, that they're used to having to hit that button to turn around.
Right.
It's not very fair.
I don't know what they were thinking with that. Like, that just seems like such, I don't know, it goes against the grain of fighting games in general.
Yeah.
So the game itself is not bad other than that. Yeah. But that is just such a crippling thing control-wise that it's near impossible to play.
Yeah, I have a feeling it had something to do with, having 4 characters on screen at a time, or the way it was programmed or something. Either way, the game itself wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst Guilty Gear game I've played.
Right. What would that be, Overture?
Yes. And to be fair to anybody who likes Overture, it's not that Overture was a bad game. It's that every Guilty Gear game I've played was a fighting game. Obviously, like I said, I missed Judgment. Yeah. And my friend and I were, like, she got this game for Christmas, and we were going to play it. We sat down to play it, and we're like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
We picked characters, why aren't we fighting? It was very, very strange.
Yeah, isn't it like turn-based, like a turn-based strategy game or something like
sort that? Sort of. It's been a long time. I recall feeling like it was almost like a Dynasty Warriors type
game.
Okay.
Which in itself doesn't sound too bad, but it's just not Guilty Gear. Yeah. But I feel like Judgment kind of is a better choice for it, just because it is a beat 'em up, and going from fighting games to beat 'em ups, they're kind of one and the same in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of 1 versus 1, it's 1 versus an army.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which I guess you could say about Overture as well, but I think it's maybe a little too different.
It's the way that it was executed, really.
Yeah.
I just remember sitting down to play it and just like, this is not what I wanted to play, so it really just put a bad taste in my mouth.
Did it push a bush?
It did not. But
did it make you want to push a bush?
Maybe. Yeah. The futility of pushing. I don't know how exactly one would push a bush.
I just
such a
picture like, I don't know, Soul Bad Guy, like, lighting a bush on fire and then just, like, rolling what's left of it, like...
like a tumbleweed?
Yeah.
That'd be good. I could see that.
That's the only thing I could think of.
What'd you think of the track?
It was great. I really enjoyed it. It's heavier than some of the other stuff that we've been listening to today, which, hey, I'm okay with that. I'm definitely a big fan of it. So, but it didn't, like... I don't know, it just kind of carried the pace.
Yeah.
To me, it didn't really stand out. There weren't any, like, melodies that really kind of made me perk up. Instead, what we have is just a fantastic hard rock and heavy metal shuggy track.
Yes.
So I'm fine with that. Yeah. Not every track has to have melody, but those are definitely the things that make me kind of perk up and go, whoa, this is awesome.
It makes the song more memorable.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's more things you can pick out. Like, I agree. This track, I mean, a lot of the songs off of Isuka are just kind of similar to this. I feel like
background music.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they made a lot of these songs more background, and they focused more on what they wanted to do with the gameplay or whatever.
That makes sense, actually, because I would imagine having a 4-player melee type game be pretty insane.
It's fairly frantic.
Yeah, and having... I mean, Guilty Gear in and of itself is a very frantic game, but when you throw 4 people total in, that's gotta be nuts.
I would disagree calling Guilty Gear frantic, only because I find it to be a very technical game. Like,
okay. Well, that's what I mean by... I guess when I say frantic, I mean... It's a high energy game, and you really have to pay attention to it. It's not frantic like Smash Brothers, where it's
that's
like
what I was just gonna say.
That I would just say is utter chaos, depending on who you play with.
Yeah.
But and that game can be very technical as well in a lot of aspects. But I feel like Guilty Gear is more about. It's more like Street Fighter in the sense it's more about like the motion of how you're pressing the buttons to engage in combos. They have whole modes in Guilty Gear dedicated to that stuff.
Yep. It's a lot more about learning the movesets, learning the combos, and doing the combos, and dusting people and getting
people.
those air.
Getting dusted.
Yeah.
Anytime we were Guilty Gear, it would just say that anytime you did like a special, be like, oh, you get dusted.
I love that they call I think in the first game they called them launcher attacks.
Right.
And then after that they came up with the term
dusted. Right. Yeah, because there's these moves that you can pull off where, at least in a normal, Guilty Gear type fighting game, where you can launch your character in the air, very like Marvel vs. Capcom-ish. Yep. And then you can do like all these air combos on them to kind of chain everything together. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. So yeah, the kind of Marvel vs. Capcom-ish. I like that they almost put a little bit more focus on the aerial combat. Like when you dust somebody, or at least in the newer games, when you hit the dust button to launch them in the air, it changes the focus. Like you snap to a different camera angle as it's like oh, you hit him in the air, and then you go and you try to follow up.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
And there's some other things that we're going to talk about with our last track, actually, with Revelator 2, which is our closer. And this is, we're going to, when we come back from the break, we'll talk a little bit about some other advancements that they've kind of given the game series as well, which are kind of cool. It's kind of takes some inspiration from games like Mortal Kombat. So, without further ado, our last track, this is my final pick, Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator 2, or Rev 2. This came out in 2017 on the PC, PS4, and PS3, and this is Rokuman, also known as Baiken's Theme, and it's by Norichika Sato, and again, Daisuke Ishiwatari. Thanks for coming back to XVGM Radio. That was Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator 2, or Rev 2, 2017's year of release. PC, PlayStation 4, and PS3 were the systems of choice, and this was Rokumon Baiken's theme by Daisuke Ishiwatari and Norichika Sato. I love this as a closing track, too.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of brings some of the old, some of the new, and it gives it that Japanese flavor, which the game is very clearly inspired by. So,
I mean, Baiken being a samurai type character and everything else, the song was really interesting. When it got into the more Japanese part of the song, I'm fairly sure that's a shamisen being played. That's the traditional kabuki theater stringed instrument, and that surprised me, and it went on and on in such wonderful ways. I was not expecting that. I'm fairly sure that I've heard the song before playing the Xrd games, but I don't think I've ever paid enough attention to what was actually going on in the song.
Yeah, they took inspiration from her theme in Guilty Gear X2, which was called Momentary Lapse, I believe? Yep. And so that beginning part with the that's right from her original track. And then when they took it in this new direction, at first, when I heard it, I was like, it's not bad. It's very heavy, very, very heavy. But then when those when the instrument comes in, that Japanese, what was it?
Shamisen.
Shamisen. When the shamisen comes in, it really kind of makes you light up, makes you kind of pay attention, whoa, this is some serious stuff. So I was really, really enjoying that in the track. It really kind of brightened it up, and it made it gave it an ethnic flavor to it as well that I think the track really needed. And it, again, is very much inspired by Baiken herself. Baiken's probably my favorite, or one of my favorite characters in the game for
she's
multiple
pretty badass.
reasons. Yeah, she's super cool. She is a badass fighter, kind of like a Japanese samurai, and she's got only one arm that she fights with,
and one eye.
In one eye, that's right. And her family, when they were young, they were attacked by this race of bioweapons, these magic bioweapons called the Gears, and she saw her parents die, and she lost her right arm and left eye. So kind of like a Samus Aran kind of backstory as well, if you think about it, from Metroid, with Samus losing her family to the space pirates.
Yeah.
So kind of similar, just not losing a right arm and a left eye. But so she swears revenge on the creator of the Gears, known as, and I quote, that man.
Yep.
Yes. So it's got almost like a Kill Bill vibe to it in a lot of ways. So she's super hot, super badass. She's also kind of gruff as well, like a no-nonsense samurai who just doesn't care about posture or anything like that. She's not prim and proper. She's just this she has her kimono wide open, you could see all her giblets, it's all good. It's all good. Baiken is ultimate waifu material.
Fair enough. One of the things that I find interesting about her is that her character design is based on someone on Rurouni Kenshin. Because,
oh, really?
Yeah. When Daisuke at one point saw Kenshin Himura, and thought that the character was a female, and so basically Baiken is a female Kenshin Himura.
Oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. I did not know that. You learn something every day, kids.
Yeah. But going back to the song, I agree as far as the mixture of I thought it was a really cool mixture of this heavy metal modern sound and a classic Edo period Japanese sound. And really, really well blended. It didn't sound out of place. It didn't sound where did this other sound come from? My heavy metal. It's not like you got peanut butter in my chocolate.
Right. Whoa, nothing wrong with that.
No, I know.
It's more like peanut butter in my
Cranberries,
yeah, exactly. Perfect. So that's it. That's Guilty Gear. I mean, we talked about Daisuke Ishiwatari as much as we possibly can, I would say. But the man knows great games and great music, in my opinion. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff. So, what about your favorite track of the podcast? What do we got?
Favorite track.
Lay out all your Guilty Gear cards on the table, and you gotta pick one.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Jack-A-Dandy is up there, but I'm also really feeling Blue Water, Blue Sky.
Yes.
May's theme is a lot of fun. I think, despite my better judgment, so I think I'm actually going to go with Blue Water, Blue Sky in this. Despite my love for Slayer,
okay.
That tune just kind of carried me away. It was sort of relaxing in a way, and it was very fun.
Yeah,
somewhat unexpected.
Yeah, no, it's a good track. It's definitely one of my favorite. Oh, come on. The Lily of Steel, Milia's theme. I mean,
we just got to get it on record. I mean, I knew, you knew.
Oh, yeah. No, just, oh my God. Like goosebumps everywhere. Love that track. So, that's it. Now we want to hear what your favorite tracks of this episode were. Let us know at facebook.com/groups/XVGM radio. Make your voice heard. Find this thread. Post your favorite track. Tell us if I'm wrong, or Justin's wrong, or we're both wrong. We're both crazy, and that Push a Bush is your favorite. Let us know what your favorite track is. You could also let us know at xvgmradio@gmail.com. Send us a comment, and you could also leave it on our website as well.
www.xvgmradio.com. We are also on Twitter. You can tweet to us at xvgmradio. We're also now on Instagram, so you can send us pictures or look at the pictures that we post when we do these recording sessions.
Yeah.
Again, xvgmradio on Instagram.
Absolutely, yeah. Also, let us know on iTunes what you thought of the podcast. If you are listening to this on iTunes, we'd love to know your feedback and your response. Leave us a rating and review, because that gets our name out there and gets us more well-known in the VGM community. We love being a part of this community, and we want to know what you guys think of our stuff, where you think we can improve, and what you like, what you didn't like, etc.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what do we got coming up next? Episode 5.
So episode 5.
Should we spoil it? Should we tell people?
Should we keep it a secret, or should we talk about it right here and now? Vote. Let us know. No, it's too late.
Too late. The episode's released.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. Let's keep it a secret.
Yeah.
Let's keep it a secret.
It's gonna be a fun episode. Make sure to tune in.
The only thing I will say is that we will have a guest.
Yes.
That is it.
There will be a third person talking on your ears.
Yes, third person. This will be our first guest of the podcast, too.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Pixel Stories. They are a podcast, and they also happen to be friends of ours. And their podcast is more derivative of stories about nonfiction and fiction and how that kind of relates to video games. So check them out at pixelstories.net. If you're wondering why I'm giving them a shout out, well, they actually, or some of them, voiced some of the characters that you heard today in this episode. So Kevin Basquill was Slayer, Caitlin Basquill was Jam, and May was played by Just Barber. So please go and check them out. Give them a subscribe on iTunes as well. And check out their website at pixelstories.net. If you're interested in being a caller on our podcast, stay tuned, because more details will be coming on episode 6. So that's it. So let's close it out.
So signing off for the night, I am Justin, a.k.a. The Slayer.
And this is Mike, a.k.a. Bikin's Husbando.
Thank you for listening to XVGM Radio. Tune in 2 weeks.
Peace out, guys.